There's something about Brighton with the architecture and the seaside that in the right light, I go back to the 1900s. I was inspired by my beautiful walk along the seaside in Brighton today to take a look at some of the masters painting in the early 1900s. For today's study, I'm looking at the artist J.C Leyendecker. He lived from 1874 to 1951 and was one of the most prominent artists in the US during this time. He would paint hundreds of posters, books, advertisement, magazine covers. Most notably, he was known for his covers for the Saturday Evening Post. And I just find his style so captivating, and the way he paints just feels so full of life, feels very Americana, which I really enjoy this era of. And I believe that Norman Rockwell took a lot of inspiration from J.C. Leyendecker in his art, which is also this kind of feeling and color scheme and just really expressive characters, which are just so gorgeous to look at. So that's why I've picked him today. I didn't want to just straight up copy one of his paintings, so I decided to, after some doodling around, decided to do a nursemaid or nanny kind of figure from the early 1900s. And instead of a baby, I just wanted to have a bit of fun with it, and so I drew an opossum, which I really love these little guys. I find them kind of scary but also really cute, so it's a very confusing relationship I have with them. But I don't know, something about this just kind of came together in the sketching phase very quickly, and it felt like the right kind of scene that would play really well into Leyendecker's style. So after sketching it up in ProCreate and before colouring, I tried to think about how best to copy the paint style without obviously copying the actual artwork. And I found this one, which has this gorgeous orange vibrant circle and these classic two black lines through that he does in a lot of his covers, and the colour of the boy's little jacket and hat matched the same vibe and colour of the nanny's dress, and it just all started coming together really, really well. I don't do a lot of painting like this in ProCreate. I'm more of a flat colours and line work kind of girl, so it took a little bit of research and watching other videos of how people how people paint without it just looking like line work that's being coloured in. And it seemed to be the best way was, once you've got your lines down and the block colours down on a separate layer, then turn your line layer to overlay, and it mimics the colour that it sits underneath, and then it makes it look less harsh and kind of blends into the colours. And then you start a new layer on top of the line work layer, which you just paint straight over and clean up lines and cover the lines as you paint, and that seems to work really well. I was kind of surprised by how quickly it was looking like a painting instead of my usual more illustrative color line work combo that I go for. When studying a lot of Leyendecker's pieces, the things that really stood out to me in his painting style was the bright highlights that he does on the skin of his subjects. Like, there's usually a strong forehead cast of light, and even on arms and hands there's a bright, almost white pop in the skin. So that was really important to capture. And then the other thing that was really important to capture is the way that he seems to leave kind of movement lines, or I don't know how to describe it, but basically like little pencil-y kind of lines as well as fully blended color. I don't think I'll have to put something on the screen to show you, but you can see like the little lines of different color that highlight or just like help with the hair flow or whatever it is. So that was another important thing that I wanted to try and do. And then the final one was he seems to do his paintings and then cut them out with the background color. So I wanted to obviously not just have this on a white background, but on this kind of creamy color, so that I can kind of chisel out the shapes of the final outline in a way that looks, like I've painted the figure and then painted the background around it. That seems to be something that he does a lot as well. And he even does it with his signature sometimes, which I find really interesting, and it looks really cool. So you can see he's painted his signature on top of the original background, and then for his final cleanup he's gone around and put the lighter color and chiseled out the things he wants to keep. So I think that it's just really cool when you do these little studies to see the methods that people use and see what ones really speak to you, and then incorporate them in your own artwork. So I definitely want to do more of these kind of artist studies in the future. I find it really helpful. My next challenge that I didn't really anticipate when I decided that the baby was going to be an opossum was painting fur. It's not something I am familiar with doing. I don't really know the technique to get it looking nice, and I really struggled with this little baby. In fact, this was probably where I got stuck on this piece the longest, and I was painting, erasing, trying to work out what layering techniques would look like fur without going and just, creating line work for the fur. I wanted it to mesh with the rest of the piece, and so that was a bit of a struggle, and I ended up having to adjust and change brushes throughout the painting of the opossum. The whole piece, besides the background, was painted purely sketched and painted with the round brush in ProCreate, but the final topping of the fur on the possum, I think I used like a dry brush option that just had more of that like dispersed brush line, and that seemed to help. So here is the final piece. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and definitely if you haven't heard of J.C Leyendecker before, definitely check out his beautiful paintings and maybe try your own study. It's really fun, and I will catch you all next week. Have a good one. Bye.